Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our Paws on Netflix podcast.
Today we're covering the big Netflix movie from Trollhunters, Rise of the Titans.
Yes, and in this grand finale to the Tales of Arcadia trilogy, the heroes of Trollhunters, Three Below, and Wizards join together to save the world from total destruction from three evil wizards. Ooh, bad luck in threes.
Yes. So before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and multi-pause videos.
Before we start, if you've seen any of the other series and you haven't seen this movie, be sure to watch it.
Yes.
Because it changes everything.
Yeah, it does. Entirely. It affects the entire Tales of Arcadia franchise as a whole. And if you've already seen the movie, you'll know exactly what we mean. And with that, it kind of questions what is going to happen now with this. We know it's over. This is the series finale. But does it open up like a multiverse like the MCU was doing? Like, is there one universe where something happens, another universe something else happens now? Because the way this series ends, everything has been built up tremendously. Like, everything escalated from the time it opened up. They give you a little recap on the series and what's happened, and then it just jumped into action.
Yes, you can say that it was action-packed from beginning to end. Almost all of the characters returned. The animation was still fantastic, and everyone was involved. So those are the big pluses of this final movie. You got something you really didn't expect at the end, and I know that we mentioned that already, but there's no other way to put it. The ending was not what you were expecting or wanting, and to me, it's not what this franchise deserved. It deserved so much better, because as we mentioned, the end of this, literally, without spoiling it, ends this franchise. It ends everything, and it changes everything that's happened previously, which is the most bizarre thing that we've seen so far in a franchise that has produced nothing but excellent content. This movie failed to deliver what the other three series gave us.
Right. And I know it's weird to bring up the ending first, but it stood out the most out of a nearly 2-hour movie. And unfortunately, it's not in a good way, like, wow, what a finale to finish it off. It just sort of leaves you like, why did we watch all of this? Why do we watch all of this? It kind of almost renders the past 3 series mute. And it's kind of sad because the movie was pretty epic until the final few minutes. It stayed action-packed. There were unfortunately some casualties, but it stayed epic the entire time.
It was almost like they couldn't think of a way to dramatically end it where everyone would be satisfied, so they just took the shortcut and ended it the way that it ended.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, there were some great moments and some absolutely humorous moments, as always in this franchise.
Yes.
And there was great teamwork and even development of characters in this movie. You could see that had happened since we last saw all of our heroes. Mm-hmm. And those were some really great points to seeing this movie.
Yes. And all characters from all the shows got to interact with each other. Because as it was going to the end, you had Trollhunters interact with Three Below when they were coming in. And then with Three Below, you had a little bit of Wizards coming in. And then Wizards leading up to Titans, so they were kind of one following after the other. And then with the movie, you had all the characters from all 3 series actually interacting, which was neat because that's what you have been waiting for so long. And, you know, for the most part, it really worked out. And the whole plot of the movie is basically these 3 wizards want to revive Titan. Now, then, yes, it's kind of like Attack on Titan. They definitely make an homage to that. They raise these Titans from the ground, I guess, that have been dormant, and they want to literally reboot the universe, or the Earth, because they're tired of the humans. So they wanted to make it to where there were no people on there whatsoever, which was kind of, in a way, almost foreshadowing something later.
Right. They just wanted plants.
They're like, this sounds like
animals. Yeah, plants and animals.
Yeah, that sounds like that arc from Sonic X with the
Sure does.
those people only wanting no animals or humans, just nothing but plant life, so
Right.
there'd be peace. So it almost sounded like that.
Yes.
And then you had one of them that defected from them during the Wizards series, and she didn't want to destroy the planet, and she was the key to bringing them all out. So she ran away, and they kept her. The other characters kept her protected.
And as you say that, she was Cosmo. So it's almost like they borrowed from Sonic X.
Yeah.
Until you just said that, and we're talking about it. She was Cosmo.
Yeah,
She was
even
Cosmo from
green.
Sonic X. Yeah.
She was even green like
And
her.
control of plants, it was Cosmo. You're absolutely right. They borrowed from
What
Sonic
happened,
X.
yeah.
What happened in the final season.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right, and it leads off from where Wizards left off, where she and what's his name, Dukesy, were in. It looks like they were in sort of like their version of New York, and that's where Wizards had ended. So they waited about over a year till you saw the movie. But it's suggested that some months have passed before the movie started. So they're actually in hiding for a while. And then, like we said, opens up with a ton of action. But as it goes on, like the action actually keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And with her specifically, they had to find a way where they couldn't bring up the Titans as soon because they weren't prepared at all to take them down, and they were like gigantic, like the Titans on Attack on Titan.
Yes.
And with that,
And
it made
the
it just
Titans
was insane.
were rising from different elements, from
Right.
water, from dirt,
From
ice
fire.
and snow.
Yeah.
Fire,
So they were actually really creatively designed, and they each of them controlled one and rigging them to where when they all come together, or at least one of them is there at least, they would restart everything.
Right. So as we did mention, it was fantastic till the end.
Right.
Excuse me for saying but I'm gonna have to say this since it's the second time only I've said this. If you really love this franchise, I would say watch this movie until it's almost at the end, and then cut it off and stop, and don't watch the end of the movie.
Right.
And just keep intact what you have for the other 3 series and almost through to the end of the movie. Don't watch the end of the movie, because the end of the movie is catastrophic for this franchise in more ways than one. And we understand on one hand the decision that the main character Jim makes to do this, but it could have been done in a better way, where it doesn't, as you say, totally destroy all that has happened in the other 3 series. Like it's just it was just never happened.
Right. And we at first thought, like we said, there were some casualties in the movie. We won't reveal who it was, of course.
Who they were.
Who they were. But there were quite a few casualties in the movie, and people were not expecting that, neither were we. And it got so bad that the final casualty hit pretty hard. And we originally thought that the solution was to go back and save everybody during different points in the movie, and then they will all come back when the person went and came back. But they decided to do something totally different, and we didn't understand.
Jim, because Jim.
Jim. And we didn't understand. Well, why didn't you just go back and save each person? Like they explain, okay, this is what happened to this person. Here's when it happened, and then just keep going backwards, and then save each one, and then go back to where you were, and then everyone would still be there. That would have easily fixed it, but it seemed like they wanted something more permanent. But that would have been permanent too. It would have been a much happier ending. I mean, I get there was a lot of damage to a lot of things, which they can fix. It's like a superhero series. They can fix it easily. And yeah, it was just a very strange route to go when there was already another easy route to go to that could have been totally satisfactory.
It would have left everything intact.
Yeah.
So what we're going to say is this: if you want us to do maybe another short podcast that's 10 minutes or less, after you guys have gotten a chance to see this.
Right, which will be more spoilers.
Yes, let us know in the comments below, and we'll do that, because we really, really want to talk about the end of the movie, but we can't.
Right.
And if you want us to do that with you, let us know, Team Possum, in the comments below.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about Tales of Arcadia as a franchise, we read the original book for Trollhunters itself, and it was just a one-and-done book. And it was completely different from what we saw for the Netflix version. But in this case, changing the source material actually works in the favor, because despite all the changes, it still retained a charm to it, and it launched something pretty great for DreamWorks.
And it wasn't as dark as the book. The book was really great, but it was very dark.
Yeah,
Just
there was
really
no
different.
lightheartedness.
And this was written for, I'm not sure what age.
It was supposed to be for kids, like for young teens.
This really was not a kid's book.
Right, it was meant for teens,
It was kind of more like Artemis Fowl, where people of different ages can read it, but not really younger children.
Right. And with that, you know, as it launched the other two series of Three Below and Wizards, you know, each one had its pros and cons. And you accepted that, you know, they're all in the same universe. It was all one big story. And you might not have liked one as much as the other. You might have liked them all, but they each had their own identity. The only thing you might have had problems with as it went on, each show had fewer episodes. Like Trollhunters had 3 parts. Three Below had 2 parts. Wizards had 1 part and was a limited series, and then 1 movie. Right. So I think that'd be like the only thing you really had a problem with until the movie, was that you were decreasing the amount of content you got by the time it was getting close to the end.
Very true. Very, very true. So I am sorry to see this franchise come to an end, because all 3 former series, all 3 series I should say, Trollhunters, Three Below, and Wizards were spectacular. They were fun to watch, and none of those disappointed at all. And I guess maybe Guillermo del Toro is ready to move on to something else.
Yeah, perhaps, because you know he's done other movies besides, you know, Book of Life, of course, but he's done some other projects like El Tigre and that. So perhaps, yeah, he's going on to something else, because he's been doing this franchise for quite a few years now. I think, since 2016?
Right.
And it just ended in 2021. So yeah, he had been working on this for a while and got through to the end. Now, we don't know if there was an alternate end, because there are no bonus features on Netflix that they have allowed to be as an extra.
Right.
We don't know if there was something else he had in mind, but maybe the network didn't want to be a chance for it coming back, so they said, okay, let's make sure this is a final thing and change it up a little bit, because sometimes you can tell when there's something else that's supposed to be there and they cut it short, or it's missing, like a Carmen Sandiego cutting it 2 arcs short.
Very
so
true.
maybe in a way, maybe he wanted something else for it to end, but DreamWorks was like, no, we're ready to close it off, have it to where there's no cliffhanger for something else happening, and it's just said and done.
That's true. So if you've seen Trollhunters Rise of the Titans movie, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with us, and do you want another short podcast where we can discuss the ending with a giant spoiler alert?
Right.
And only those of you who've seen it will be able to participate in the comments and hear the podcast.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, it's available, of course, on Netflix. It just came out last week, so it should be available for a while. And if you've never seen, again, the Trollhunters franchise or trilogy, watch it and enjoy it. It's absolutely fantastic and absolutely fabulous. And again, lastly, we recommend, if you don't want everything forever changed for you for the franchise, watch it until the last 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, yeah, the last 5 to 8 minutes, and then cut it off.
Yes.
And then just let that be your ending.
Yeah, and that's it, and then your problem solved. So be sure to like, subscribe, and notification with updates on future podcasts and monopause videos. And if you want a part 2 to this where we get more spoilerish, because there's definitely some more comments I would like to say that couldn't go into detail.
Same here.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace. Daylight is mine to command.